Hello, my friend, and welcome to your sleep story. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight, guiding you toward a peaceful, restful sleep. As you settle in, take a slow, deep breath and let it all go. Allow yourself to gently relax and let this story carry you to a quiet, calming place. Tonight's story is about Hazel, a little hedgehog with a big dream to touch the moon. It's a soft, heartwarming journey, filled with wonder and gentle magic. Just the kind of story to help you drift into a peaceful sleep. But before we start, let's take a few moments to relax and prepare. This time is all for you, allowing your mind and body to unwind and let go. Take a deep breath in and slowly release it. With every exhale, feel any tension melt away, leaving your body soft and at ease. Now, notice the surface beneath you, whether it's the soft bed or the floor. Feel the support it gives you. Let that support sink in, grounding you in this moment. As you settle deeper, feel the weight of your body growing heavier, gently sinking into the space around you. Allow your muscles to soften, starting from your shoulders and moving down to your feet. No need to rush. Just let go slowly, one breath at a time. Imagine the quiet stillness of the night, the rustling leaves, a soft breeze, the distant call of night creatures. Let these peaceful sounds wash over you, inviting you to relax even further. 10. Feel the comfort of the surface beneath you, supporting you completely. 9. With every breath, let yourself feel lighter, your body more at ease. 8. Thoughts may come, but they will pass by, like clouds drifting across the sky. 7. You are safe and supported. There's nothing you need to do right now but relax and enjoy this moment. 6. The night is calm and still, and so are you. Allow yourself to sink deeper into peace. 5. Feel the quiet around you, the gentle warmth of your blanket, the peaceful rhythm of your breathing. 4. With each breath, you feel more and more at ease, fully present in the here and now. 3. The quiet stillness fills you with a sense of calm. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do. 2. Let any remaining tension drift away, knowing you're in a place of rest and serenity. 1. You are fully relaxed, completely at peace, and ready to drift into a calm sleep. Now, let's settle into Hazel's world, where the quiet adventure begins. Hazel, the little hedgehog, had always dreamed of something special. Every night, as she lay in her cozy burrow, she would gaze up at the glowing moon in the sky. Its silver light seemed so close, so beautiful, and so mysterious. Hazel often wondered, what would it be like to touch the moon? She would stay awake, watching the moon shimmer and sparkle, feeling its peaceful presence, knowing it was just out of reach. But tonight, something felt different. Tonight, Hazel decided to go on an adventure, a quiet, gentle adventure, toward the moon. Hazel the hedgehog lived in a quiet corner of the forest, where the trees whispered in the wind and the moonlight danced on the leaves. Every night, as she curled up in her soft, cozy burrow, she would gaze up at the glowing moon in the sky. It shone so brightly, casting a silver glow over everything, and Hazel couldn't help but wonder, what would it be like to touch the moon? She would lie there for hours, her tiny paws pressed gently against the earth, her eyes fixed on that shimmering light. It felt so close, yet so far away. The moon's soft glow seemed to call to her, a quiet invitation to dream. For as long as Hazel could remember, she had always admired the moon from afar. It was a part of the night that made her feel safe and peaceful. It had a magic about it that no other thing in the forest seemed to have. It wasn't just the way it lit up the dark sky. It was the way it made everything feel calm and still, like time itself was taking a gentle pause. But tonight, something was different. Hazel felt an unfamiliar stir inside her, a quiet but strong feeling that perhaps tonight was the night she could finally reach the moon. She had never tried before, but the idea of it felt so right, so possible, as if the moon was waiting for her. Slowly, she got to her feet, stretching her tiny legs and wiggling her little quills. The air outside was cool and crisp, the stars twinkling above like a blanket of diamonds scattered across the dark sky. Hazel took a deep breath, feeling the fresh, sweet scent of the night fill her nose. The forest around her seemed to hush, as though it too was waiting, just as she was. Tonight, Hazel whispered to herself, her heart beating softly with excitement. I'll try to touch the moon. She padded quietly out of her burrow, the soft earth beneath her paws grounding her. The forest was quiet at night, but there were sounds that she loved. The soft rustling of leaves, the distant hum of the stream, the gentle call of an owl. All these sounds wrapped around her like a warm blanket, easing any nervousness she might have felt. There was no rush. Tonight, it was just Hazel, the moon, and a quiet adventure. As she made her way toward the meadow, she noticed the way the moon's light turned the grass into silver waves, glowing softly under its embrace. It was beautiful. Hazel paused for a moment to take it all in, the vastness of the night sky, the cool air brushing her fur, and the soft rhythmic sounds of the world around her. For a moment she could almost forget what she was doing, but her heart reminded her. The moon was still up there, just waiting. Hazel's tiny feet made no sound as she ventured deeper into the meadow, following the soft glow that seemed to pull her forward. The light seemed so close now, closer than ever before. It felt almost like the moon was guiding her, lighting her path, telling her to keep going. She could feel the excitement bubbling up inside her. She was getting closer. She was sure of it. Soon, she came to a small hill that rose up, tall and steep. From the top of the hill, she could see the moon more clearly, hanging high in the sky, casting its silvery glow over everything below. It was as if the entire world was bathed in its soft light. But the hill, it seemed so high, much higher than Hazel had expected. Her little legs wobbled a bit, but she didn't let that stop her. The moon was close, closer than it had ever been, and she could almost feel it, as if it were just a few steps away. Taking a deep breath, Hazel began her climb. With each small step, she felt more determined. She knew the moon was waiting for her, and though the hill was steep, Hazel wasn't afraid. She was sure that if she kept going, she would reach it. She just had to believe in herself. The wind began to pick up as she climbed higher, the air growing cooler and fresher. Hazel paused for a moment, glancing up at the sky, her heart fluttering with excitement. The stars twinkled brightly, and the moon seemed to smile down at her, its light casting long shadows on the ground. She was so close now, she could almost touch it. But as Hazel reached the top of the hill, she stopped. Her little paws trembled as she looked up, her eyes wide. The moon was still so far away, much farther than she had imagined. No matter how hard she tried, no matter how tall the hill was, the moon remained just out of reach, hanging high above her, casting its soft, steady light over the world. Hazel's heart sank a little, but she didn't feel discouraged. Instead, she felt something else, a gentle understanding. The moon wasn't meant to be touched, not in the way she had imagined. It wasn't something you could hold in your paws or carry with you. It was something else, something much deeper. And as Hazel stood there, gazing up at the moon, she realized that its beauty didn't come from being touched. It came from the way it made her feel, the way it filled the world with its calm and peaceful glow. Hazel smiled softly to herself. She didn't need to touch the moon to feel its magic. The moon was always there, lighting the way, just as it had tonight. And that was enough. Hazel stood there for a moment, her eyes fixed on the moon, a sense of peace filling her heart. The cool night air whispered through the trees, and for the first time, Hazel felt a deep connection to everything around her, the forest, the stars, and of course the moon. She wasn't sure how to explain it, but she knew that the moon had been there for her, all along, guiding her with its steady light. She slowly sat down on the soft grass, her little paws resting in her lap, gazing up with wonder. The moon seemed so vast, so full of quiet magic, and yet, in a way, it felt closer now than ever before. Hazel closed her eyes for a moment, taking in the stillness of the night, the world around her, so peaceful and calm. It was the kind of quiet that made her feel safe, as though nothing else mattered in this moment. A gentle breeze blew through the meadow, rustling the leaves on the trees and carrying with it the soft scent of the forest. Hazel took a deep breath, feeling her worries from earlier slip away. She didn't need to touch the moon to feel its power. It had already given her something more precious, peace. As Hazel sat there, lost in the beauty of the night, she heard a soft sound beside her. Turning her head, she saw a small owl perched on a nearby branch, its large, round eyes watching her curiously. The owl tilted its head, as if considering Hazel for a moment, then let out a soft hoot. Hazel smiled softly. "Hello," she whispered, her voice barely a murmur in the quiet night. The owl hooted again, this time a little louder, as if responding to her greeting. Hazel felt a gentle warmth spread through her chest, a sense of companionship in the owl's presence. She had always liked animals, but tonight, everything felt different. The forest felt more alive, more connected, as if all the creatures, great and small, were part of the same quiet story. "Did you ever wonder about the moon?" Hazel asked, her voice soft and thoughtful. "It feels so close, yet so far away. It seems so unreachable, doesn't it?" The owl blinked, then let out a soft hoot, almost as if agreeing with her. Hazel chuckled gently, her small quills rustling as she shifted her position on the grass. "I tried to reach it tonight," she continued, her voice filled with wonder. "I thought maybe I could touch it, but now I see. It's not about reaching the moon. It's about feeling its light inside, in your heart." The owl blinked again, as though understanding Hazel's thoughts, and flew silently into the night sky, its wings barely making a sound. Hazel watched the owl disappear into the darkness, her heart swelling with a quiet sense of gratitude. She felt so at peace in that moment, as though the universe itself had shared a secret with her, one that she would carry with her, always. With a contented sigh, Hazel lay back on the soft grass, staring up at the stars. The moon still hung high above, its silver glow casting a gentle light over the meadow. Hazel closed her eyes, allowing herself to rest. She knew that the journey to touch the moon wasn't about reaching a destination. It was about the quiet moments along the way, the discoveries made, and the sense of calm that filled her heart as she sat under the vast, starry sky. The night was perfect just as it was, and with that thought, Hazel drifted off to sleep, her dreams as soft and peaceful as the moonlight itself. As Hazel slept, the moon watched over her, its silver light shimmering like a gentle lullaby. And in the stillness of the night, Hazel realized that sometimes the most beautiful dreams aren't the ones we chase. They're the ones that find us when we least expect them. As Hazel lay under the stars, wrapped in the soft glow of the moon, her dreams drifted gently in like a warm breeze, carrying her deeper into a peaceful slumber. The quiet of the forest cradled her, the trees standing tall like silent guardians watching over her. In her dream, Hazel found herself standing in a vast meadow, much like the one she had been in earlier, only this time it was bathed in an even softer, more ethereal light. The moon hung just above the horizon, larger and brighter than ever before, as though it had come closer to her, as if it too had heard her thoughts. Hazel's tiny paws sank into the soft grass beneath her, but she didn't feel the usual weight of the earth beneath her feet. Instead, it felt as though the grass was lifting her, like the meadow itself was supporting her, as if the world was telling her that she was exactly where she needed to be. She gazed up at the moon, her heart fluttering with wonder. This time, it was different. There was no hill to climb, no long journey ahead, just Hazel and the moon, sharing this quiet, sacred moment. The air was still, but there was a sense of motion in the dream, a feeling of peace that washed over her, gently pulling her toward the light. As she stepped forward, a soft voice, like the whisper of the wind, seemed to speak to her from all around. "The moon is always near," the voice said, its tone calm and soothing. "It lives within the hearts of those who believe in its light." Hazel paused, her little heart swelling with a sense of warmth. "But how?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "How can the moon live inside me?" The voice didn't answer directly, but the meadow around her seemed to come alive. The soft, silvery light of the moon began to dance on the grass, casting long, shimmering shadows that rippled like a quiet wave. Hazel closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them again, she saw something beautiful, a faint, glowing trail of light leading off into the distance, disappearing over a hill. The voice returned, as gentle as the evening breeze. "Follow the light, Hazel. Let it guide you, as the moon guides you." Without hesitation, Hazel began to follow the glowing trail. Each step she took seemed to carry her further into a dreamlike world, where everything felt soft and serene. The night was still, and the air smelled of earth and flowers, fresh and full of promise. It was a world where time didn't hurry, and every moment felt precious. As she walked, Hazel noticed that the light around her grew brighter, warmer, as though it was coming from deep inside her own heart. She smiled softly, realizing that the moon wasn't just above her, shining in the sky. It was within her too, guiding her in ways she hadn't understood before. It was a gentle reminder that sometimes the things we search for outside ourselves are already within, waiting to be discovered. The light grew stronger, enveloping her in its warm embrace, until she stood at the very top of a hill. There, just ahead of her, the moon shone more brightly than ever, its glow filling the night with peace. Hazel closed her eyes and took a deep breath, letting the stillness wash over her. When she opened her eyes again, the dream began to fade, the meadow softening into the gentle rhythm of her breath. Hazel felt a gentle tug on her heart, as if the moon's light was still there, even as the dream began to slip away, like the last few stars at dawn. And so, Hazel's peaceful journey continued, not through the night or the moon's light, but through the quiet understanding that the magic she sought was always inside her, guiding her with its quiet, steady glow. Hazel's dream faded slowly, and as the first light of morning began to peek through her burrow, Hazel's heart was filled with contentment. She knew that she didn't need to reach the moon to feel its magic. The magic had always been with her, quiet and constant, just like the moon itself. And as Hazel stirred in her cozy burrow, still wrapped in the warmth of her dreams, she smiled softly, knowing that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The moon remained in the sky, ever present, its silver light a reminder that sometimes the most important journeys are the ones we take within ourselves. Hazel slept soundly, knowing that the light of the moon would always be there, guiding her gently every night. As the first rays of dawn crept through the soft canopy of leaves above Hazel's burrow, the world outside stirred gently, waking to the quiet rhythm of a new day. Hazel's eyes fluttered open, not in haste, but in a peaceful, slow stretch of awakening, like the earth itself, stretching beneath the soft blanket of morning. She lay still for a moment, her little heart full of warmth, remembering the dream, the meadow, the moon, the soft voice that guided her. It felt as though the magic from her dream had woven itself into her very being, filling her with a quiet sense of wonder and peace. She blinked at the soft glow of daylight filtering into her burrow, noticing how the light danced on the walls, creating gentle patterns of shadows and light. The forest outside had already begun to hum, with the soft rustling of leaves and the distant call of birds. The world was waking, but it wasn't hurried. It was a gentle awakening, as though even the trees and animals knew the value of stillness before the bustle of the day. Hazel took a deep breath, feeling the air fill her lungs. The morning air was fresh, filled with the earthy scent of dew and leaves. She could feel the earth beneath her once again, but this time it felt different. It was as if she was more in tune with it, more grounded, more connected to the gentle rhythm of nature. The moon's light still lingered within her heart, and she knew it was guiding her, even as the sun took its place in the sky. Slowly, Hazel rose from her soft bed of moss and leaves, stretching her tiny legs and shaking off the remnants of sleep. Her little paws felt the cool, dewy earth beneath her as she padded toward the entrance of her burrow. The world outside was bathed in the soft morning light, and everything felt soft, as though the entire forest was still wrapped in a gentle embrace. She stepped out into the meadow, the soft grass brushing against her fur. The flowers swayed in the breeze, their petals shimmering with the morning dew. Hazel smiled, feeling the quiet beauty of the world around her. It was the kind of day where time didn't matter, where everything seemed to pause, just for a moment, to take a deep breath and appreciate the calm. As she wandered through the meadow, her thoughts drifted to the dream again. She wondered if it had been more than just a dream. The gentle voice, the light of the moon, the sense of guidance. It all felt so real, like a deep truth she had uncovered within herself. She didn't need to search for the moon up in the sky anymore. The moon's light had always been with her, glowing softly in her heart, guiding her, even in the darkest of nights. Hazel sat down in the grass, looking up at the sky. The moon was no longer visible, but she could feel it in the soft light of the morning sun, in the gentle breeze that whispered through the trees, in the quiet, peaceful rhythm of the world around her. The moon had shown her something important. It had shown her that sometimes the magic we seek is not something far away, but something within us all along, the quiet light inside that always guides us, even when we can't see it. Hazel closed her eyes, letting the peacefulness of the morning wash over her, knowing that wherever she went, the moon's gentle light would always be with her, guiding her gently on her way. And in that stillness, Hazel fell into a soft, peaceful rest, her heart full of the calm understanding that everything she needed was already inside her, glowing softly, like the light of the moon. And as the day unfolded around her, with its quiet moments and gentle breezes, Hazel knew that the magic she sought would always be within her, a steady, comforting light that would guide her no matter where her journey took her. The forest, the moon, the stars, and everything in between, they were all part of the same gentle song, one that Hazel would always carry with her, softly and quietly, wherever she went. The breeze shifted slightly, and Hazel's eyes fluttered open again, the warmth of the sun now embracing her. The quiet hum of the forest had grown stronger with the day, but it was a peaceful kind of hum, like the world itself was breathing in sync with her. She smiled softly, feeling at peace with herself, as if the gentle morning had shared a secret with her. She didn't need to go on a grand adventure or chase after something beyond her reach to find happiness. The magic she had sought, the light of the moon, was already a part of her, quiet and ever present. With a soft stretch, Hazel stood and turned back toward her burrow. But before she could take a step, something caught her eye, a movement among the trees just at the edge of the meadow. Her ears perked up, her soft fur rippling as a cool breeze passed by. She couldn't see clearly at first, but as the movement grew clearer, she noticed something new. A small figure was approaching her, barely visible through the tall grass. It was a fox, with sleek russet fur, moving with the grace of someone who knew the land well. The fox's eyes caught hers, and for a moment, they simply stood there, watching each other, as though neither wanted to disturb the peaceful silence of the morning. Hazel felt no fear. Instead, there was a quiet curiosity. She had always heard stories of the foxes in the forest, how they were clever and quick-witted. But this fox, standing before her in the soft sunlight, didn't seem like the wild creatures of tales she had heard. There was something calm about it, a quiet wisdom in the way it moved. "Good morning," Hazel called gently, her voice light and calm. The fox stepped closer, its eyes twinkling with a playful warmth. "Good morning, Hazel," the fox replied in a voice so soft it blended with the whisper of the wind. "I've been watching you, little one. You seem different today, more at peace, as though you've found something." Hazel blinked in surprise. She had never spoken to a fox before, not like this. She smiled softly, a bit shy, but full of the warmth she had discovered in her heart. "I think I have," she said. "I think I found something I've been searching for. The moon, its light, it's not just up there in the sky, it's inside me too." The fox nodded, its eyes full of understanding. "Yes, Hazel, the moon's light is always within you. It's not the stars or the moon itself that makes you who you are. It's the light you carry within, the peace you find when you believe that it's always there." Hazel's heart swelled with a quiet joy. The fox's words rang true in a way she hadn't expected. It was comforting, knowing that the quiet light she had felt during her dream wasn't just some fleeting moment. It was part of who she was, part of everything around her, and it was enough. "What do you do when you find this light?" Hazel asked, her voice soft with wonder. The fox tilted its head, as though considering the question carefully. You live with it. You carry it with you, not as something distant or separate, but as part of your every step. You live with love, with kindness, and with gratitude for the light you carry within. It's what helps guide you, especially when the path feels uncertain. Hazel looked up at the sky, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the morning. She had never felt so connected to the world around her, so in tune with the rhythm of the earth, the trees, and the animals. She felt as though she were part of something greater, a part of the quiet song that flowed through the land. "Thank you," Hazel said quietly, looking back at the fox. "I think I understand now. I don't need to reach the moon to find its light. It's with me all along." The fox smiled, a soft, knowing smile that seemed to say everything needed to be said. "Exactly," it said, before turning and disappearing into the trees, its form blending with the shadows of the forest. Hazel stood there for a while, her thoughts gently settling into the calmness of the morning. The soft light of the sun bathed the meadow, and she felt no rush to leave, no need to hurry anywhere. The day would unfold as it would, and she would carry with her the quiet understanding that the magic she had always searched for had always been inside her. She was enough, just as she was. And so, with a peaceful heart, Hazel took another step into the soft grass, the world around her, feeling as though it had become just a little bit more magical. Hazel continued her walk through the meadow, the gentle sway of the grass guiding her forward. Her heart felt light, the kind of lightness you feel when a heavy burden has been quietly lifted, like the first breath of fresh air after a long, deep rest. The world around her seemed softer, more vibrant in its stillness. The birds chirped in a gentle symphony, and the breeze danced through the trees with the kind of grace that made it feel as though the whole forest was breathing with her. The sun, now high in the sky, cast a warm, golden light across the land. Hazel paused for a moment, sitting down beneath a large oak tree. The rough bark of the tree felt grounding beneath her paws as she leaned against it, her little body sinking into the comfort of the earth below. It was as though the tree itself had been there for centuries, witnessing all the changes, all the moments of stillness and movement. Hazel felt a deep connection to it, as though they shared something unspoken, something timeless. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun wrap around her like a soft blanket. She listened to the quiet sounds of the forest, the rustling of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the soft hum of the earth beneath her. The world seemed to pause, as though giving her the space to simply be. There was no need to hurry. She had all the time in the world. After a few moments, Hazel opened her eyes and stood up, her fur brushing softly against the tree's bark. As she looked out across the meadow, she noticed something new, a shimmering light at the far end, where the meadow met the forest's edge. At first, she thought it was the play of sunlight through the leaves, but as she looked closer, she realized it was something else. It was a butterfly, glowing softly in the sunlight. Its wings shimmered in a cascade of colors, soft and iridescent, as it fluttered gracefully in the air. Hazel watched in awe, feeling a quiet sense of wonder fill her heart. The butterfly seemed to dance in the air, moving as though it had no care in the world, as though it too was a part of the stillness, part of the peace that now filled Hazel's heart. Curious, Hazel took a few steps closer. The butterfly didn't fly away, but instead it hovered just out of reach, as though inviting her to follow. Hazel's tiny paws moved slowly through the soft grass, each step light and unhurried. She felt drawn to the butterfly, to its soft glow, as though it held the key to something deeper, something she had yet to understand. The butterfly fluttered further into the meadow, and Hazel followed, her heart still calm and steady, her mind clear. She didn't know where this path would lead, but she trusted that it was the right one. The gentle whisper of the breeze seemed to guide her, urging her onward. The butterfly danced through the air, and Hazel, without thinking, began to follow more eagerly. There was no rush, no urgency. She moved with the same calm assurance she had felt ever since her encounter with the moon's light. Everything was unfolding in its own time, and Hazel had learned to trust that flow. As she continued to follow, Hazel realized that she wasn't alone. The forest, the trees, the breeze, all of it was with her, guiding her. She felt, more than ever, that she was part of something vast and beautiful, something that connected all living things. The butterfly led her deeper into the meadow, where the tall grass swayed gently, whispering stories of the earth. Hazel stopped again for a moment, taking in the peacefulness of it all. She looked up at the sky, the bright blue stretching above her like a vast, comforting blanket. The butterfly was still before her, its wings fluttering in a calm rhythm. And in that moment, Hazel understood. She wasn't seeking the moon anymore, nor the magic beyond the sky. The magic was in the simple things, the way the sunlight filtered through the trees, the way the butterfly moved, the way the earth beneath her paws felt solid and sure. The magic, Hazel realized, had always been here. It was in the quiet, the gentle moments, the stillness that allowed her to listen to the world around her. And with that realization, Hazel felt a warmth in her heart that was more comforting than any light could be. She was at peace, not because she had found something distant or out of reach, but because she had finally come to understand that everything she needed had always been right here, within her, within the world, within the quiet magic that surrounded her. Hazel stood for a moment, savoring the calmness that washed over her. The butterfly, still gently fluttering in the air before her, seemed to sense the change in Hazel. It hovered a little longer, as if pausing to acknowledge the peace that had settled within the little hedgehog's heart. Then, with a soft, almost imperceptible flutter, the butterfly began to drift away, slowly at first, then gaining a rhythm of its own as it ascended into the air, higher and higher. Hazel watched the butterfly for a long while, her eyes following its graceful ascent, until it was just a tiny speck against the vast blue sky. And as she watched, Hazel realized something important, something that, until now, she had never truly understood. She had spent so long searching for something beyond her reach, believing that happiness, peace, or light could only be found by chasing after distant dreams, something far away, like the moon. But the truth was simpler than that. It wasn't the butterfly's glowing wings that held the magic. It was the way it moved with grace, free and unburdened by the need to get anywhere. It was the way it danced with the wind, just as Hazel had danced with her own heart in those quiet moments of stillness. The stillness that had always been around her, the peaceful, silent rhythm of the world that she had failed to notice before. Hazel smiled softly, letting out a quiet sigh of contentment. She didn't need to chase after the moon or dream of a distant light. She had the quiet warmth inside her that could outshine any moonbeam. As she turned back toward her burrow, Hazel walked slowly, the soft earth beneath her paws, now feeling even more like home. The sounds of the meadow wrapped around her, comforting and familiar. The chirp of the birds, the rustle of the leaves, the whisper of the wind. All these simple things seemed more vibrant now, more precious, Hazel had discovered the beauty in the quiet, in the stillness, and it filled her heart with gratitude. When she reached her burrow, she didn't rush to settle down. Instead, she paused and looked around one more time. The meadow, the trees, the soft hills beyond. It was all part of the same world she had always known, but now it felt new, like she had just discovered its magic. She stepped into her burrow, where the gentle glow of the evening light filtered through the entrance, casting long, soft shadows across the ground. Hazel curled up in her little nest of leaves and soft moss, and for the first time, she didn't feel like she needed to search for anything else. The world outside, the beauty of the day, had already given her more than enough. She closed her eyes, letting the quiet hum of the night surround her, the soft rustling of the leaves outside, the gentle whisper of the breeze, all came together to form a lullaby for her. Hazel let go of the last of her thoughts, allowing herself to be held by the peace she had found. The moon, far above in the sky, was watching over her, but Hazel didn't need to look for it now. She knew it was there, just as she knew the light within her was always there too. She smiled softly, her breathing slow and steady as the night wrapped her in its embrace. And with that, Hazel drifted peacefully into sleep, her heart full, her spirit calm, and her soul at peace.
you.